Good morning, people. What is happening? Welcome to my F1 channel. Welcome to Peter on Pole. My name is Peter, in pole position. Ladies and gentlemen, the inaugural daily news show. Yes, that's absolutely correct. Every single morning, I'm going to be trying to do all the latest news surrounding the sport of Formula One. And we're going to be checking out the top stories. If you are currently watching this video, do smash the like button and do leave your comments in the comment section if there is anything that you want to say regarding Formula One. But we want to kick things off. What's been the latest topics of late, basically, in Formula One? And it's quite simple, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to kick things off with Lewis Hamilton this morning and the whole jewellery debacle, the whole jewellery saga, if you will. It says here, according to planetf1.com, by the way, on Drive to Survive, Netflix Drive to Survive, this website, this news article was all over the gaff in terms of Planet F1. I had never really heard of them until now. But anyway, they put on yesterday, in terms of the news yesterday, about Hamilton would have to chop ear off to comply with piercing rules. What do I mean, ladies and gentlemen? Well, apparently, the FIA are going to stamp their authority regarding the piercing or wearing of jewelry on race day in the paddock. So I want to get your thoughts on that. So let's go into the story anyway. Let's get into the article because it did cause a lot of controversy, especially with like Ted Kravitz on the notebook and the qualifying notebook, and then post race as well at the Australian Grand Prix. As you can see here, if I put my cursor right here, he's got these earrings that apparently he cannot take off his earlobe. That is correct. So Lewis Hamilton was not only being defiant as he pulled his fireproofs over his head in Melbourne, his earrings on display. It was also a case that he would have to lose his ear to remove them. Let's carry on reading the story here. Formula One new race director Niles Wittich reminded the drivers ahead of the Australian Grand Prix weekend about the regulation governing jewellery. The regulation states that the wearing of jewelry is a form of body piercing or metal neck chain is prohibited during the competition and may therefore be checked before the start. Wittich reminded the drivers of this in his pre-race notes. Right. So, however, 2 days later, as the drivers stood on the grid doing their last-minute preparations for the Grand Prix, Hamilton was seen pulling off his fireproofs over his head with his ears still sporting a bunch of earrings. And that is because, quite simply, he cannot just remove them. They are welded in. So, people, what are your thoughts currently on that? The FIA have their rules regarding, piercings in Formula One. There's, like in many sports, in fact, there's some piercings that you can't have. There's some jewelry, rather, that you can't have when you're taking part in professional sports. Now, it caused a lot of controversy because people straight away, people that are like Team Hamilton who back Hamilton to the hills, they were sort of like they're trying to get onto Lewis Hamilton. If this is a plot against Lewis Hamilton, and F1 Twitter went a bit mental on this. The funny thing is, as well, though, is the question you have to ask is, why are these rules in place? What is the reasoning for having this kind of jewelry debate in terms of on the paddock? Is it for safety reasons? Is it because of how it looks? Could it necessarily be, what could really be the reason as to why we can't have jewelry or some form of jewelry? It's up for debate, really and truly. But let's have a look and see. As we move further on, here's where, at first I was like, this is a bit of a tough situation. And I thought, I didn't really have an opinion on it. But then as I scrolled down and started to read these notes here, this is when I started to form an opinion a little bit. The Mirror quotes him having said, "There's stuff I can't move. I literally can't take these ones out," pointing to his ear, just as the image we'd shown earlier. "These ones on my right ear are literally welded in, so I have to get them chopped off or something like that. So they'll be staying." Now, in that case, I kind of understand what he's saying there. If I can't take them off, then like, what do you want me to do? However, it would seem a bit of a defiance in the mix from the seven-time former world champion. Quoting, "I don't have any plans on removing them," he said. I feel there are personal things, and you should be able to be who you are, and I will continue to do that. So I was a bit confused by that sentence. I was a bit like, what's having piercings off or jewelry off got to do with who you are and who you're not? I mean, look, some people take jewelry a bit more personal. Some people take it a bit more seriously. I, for one, don't. So, I'm not necessarily, I'm not in the understanding of if I have a piece of jewelry on, it makes me more of who I am to a degree. I don't know. But people have tattoos, people have hairstyles, people have fashion, the lot, right? So I guess you could treat this the same. I'm in neither or camp, to be fair. While the drivers were given a few weeks grace period, it remains to be seen what the potential consequences could be if Hamilton refused to remove his piercings. Earlier in the week, the Briton had joked around with Max Verstappen about the jewelry during the driver's press conference. It's been the rule forever since I've been here. It's been the rule, so nothing new. I'm just going to come with more jewelry next week, Hamilton said at the time. Now, here's my problem. Okay, so it's not something brand new. It's something he's fully aware of. So the question is, well, why did you get jewelry that you got welded into your body? How much of it is it a case of this is who I am, and I'm not gonna do anything different with who I am in terms of this, so I was sort of kind of like with him along a little bit, like, I was here nor there. I was like, okay, if this is, if this is how you feel, this is your personal opinion, fair enough, everyone's entitled to it. But it's when it came to this section here, it's been a rule forever. So knowing that he had this, it's kind of rubbed me a little bit the wrong way. And then he says he's going to come with more jewelry next week. So it almost feels like now he's trying to provoke or poke the bear a little bit, and it's disappointing because I'm a big fan of Hamilton. I really am. And people that get onto him, they get onto him for many things, and some are just like, whatever. You're just out of this. You could call it flat out racism, right? But then there are some people who actually have good critical analysis of Lewis Hamilton, and it's just purely on what he's done. And I have to be like, you know what, Lewis, I don't agree with you here, man. Big fan of yours, but I mean, why? Why that statement? I don't know. It says he was joking in the press conference, so I need to take it a little bit tongue in cheek, but that looked like it was a serious statement. I would need to watch that press conference in Australia to see that, actually. Well, I've got certain piercings I just really can't take out. Fair enough. Not that many people know of. No, I'm kidding. So he had a little bit of banter there. And Verstappen replied, I would be too heavy if I wore jewelry, so it's not possible. So, it kind of left me at the end where it was just a bit like, I'm not entirely sure, I know you have a nipple piercing, man. Come on. Hamilton laughed, to which Verstappen reported, you want to see it again? So, it was a good little bit of banter. And, there's some people who left some comments, which I thought were pretty interesting. I want to get your comments. What are your thoughts on this whole saga with Lewis Hamilton and, the piercing situation? Is he did he have a point? And then did he sort of egg the point on? I'm of the opinion that he didn't really have a point, especially with the fact that this has been in Formula One forever. Like, if a piece of jewelry, if a piercing is you identify it as part of being you, this is your thing. You know what? I'm not gonna get all like, I'm not gonna even attack that or anything of the sort. You're entitled to your opinion, no problem. But for the sake of the sport that you do, for the sake of your career, wouldn't it make sense to just take the piercings off, the jewelry off, just for the race, for the 90-minute race or however long, 2-hour race, and then you could put it back on and sweet as a nut. Like if the FIA were like, no, you can't have piercings when you enter the country, or whatever like that, then I'm with you. Then I'm like, it's a bit extra. But what is the reason for the rule? Is the reason for the rule just a publicity thing? Is it just for a preference? Is it for safety? If it's for safety, then what are we debating here? What are we having an argument about? Because I know F1 Twitter went absolutely mental on that. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts. Piercings, where are you with it in Formula One? Let's get a look at some of these comments that were here, because I had a brief read of these and they were quite actually interesting. Some were good, some were funny. Nigel92, he says, it's a ridiculous rule. I understand why it's necessary in some sports like netball, basketball, and football, etc. But this is over the top, right? That's his opinion. No problem. No issues with Nigel there. That said, Hamilton puts a target on his head by pushing back on something so trivial, and for thinking he's bigger than the rule book. No one is. I hope he reconsiders his defiance here. I totally I agree with some of this statement. I hope he reconsiders his defiance. Number one. That's what I hope happens. Um, I wouldn't go as far as to say it's a ridiculous rule, but I understand why it's necessary in the netballs, basketballs, football of this world, NFL, everything else, right? But he says this is over the top. I don't know. It kind of left me a bit like, what does jewelry do in a Formula One car in a race? Is it just one of those things where if you're in an accident, like this is the last thing you need to have, you know? So I don't think he thinks he's bigger than the rule book. I don't want to act like I know what he's thinking just because he's doing something as such. I won't go that far, but he is putting a target on his back for sure, for sure. Let me know in the comment section below what you think. Dario says, just follow the rules. Hamilton would have known about the rules before he joined F1, and I presume the same rules apply in the other to the other junior classes of motor racing. If one knows the rules, then why have jewelry that cannot be easily removed? A fantastic point, Dario. If he knows the rules, which I'm going to assume he does. He's not a lemon, right? Hamilton's piercings have only appeared in the last few years, and although I'm not a fan of piercings, I respect the choice people make. I agree with you there. Knowing the rules, why did he have welded earrings fitted? Fantastic point. That's where I'm at. If you know that the rules are you can't have jewelry, you can't have anything on race day or whatever it may be, when you're in the paddock or when you're in your position to go into the car or whatever, why get welded jewelry in? That's the thing I don't get, Lewis. Why do that? This rule was implemented for safety reasons, and right or wrong should be followed by all who choose to take part in motorsports. Absolutely. If a car if a car does not comply with the regulations, then it's not allowed to race. And if a driver does not comply with the regulations, then he too should not be allowed to race. I hear you. I absolutely hear you. Here's a response from Bob the Avenger, who says, this is how people threw off the shackles of oppression by being nice and obeying the rules other people think are relevant. Obviously, tongue-in-cheek comment there. It's kind of like, if you want to change something, you got to be a little bit radical. It's a bit Malcolm X type of thing. But what are we fighting here, really? This is about wearing jewelry on the track where it could be, harmful. It could be harmful to the driver. Let me know your comments in the comment section below. Do smash the like button if you're watching this video. We're talking at the moment daily F1 news. If you've just joined us, it's daily F1 news, and we're currently talking about the jewelry issue with drivers, especially in particular Lewis Hamilton, because he caused some stir at the Australian Grand Prix weekend. I want to say NABC or NABC says it's a sensible rule, because in an accident, especially with fire, these consequences might be worse than they otherwise need be. Having said that, it's a personal risk and the drivers are responsible adults. So maybe a compromise would be that the drivers have to sign waiver indemnifying the organizers against any injuries caused by their specific jewelry. That's a very good take there. If it is, if it's one of them ones where like in a fire, it's going to cause some problems, why, and if you still want to, we live in a democracy. If you still want to enter the sport with this jewelry, then guess what? Here's what you need to sign. At least then that way the FIA, Formula One, whoever it is, the circuit, the track, whatever, can turn around and say, look, it's not our beef. This is what you decided to do. That is on your accord. I don't argue with that. Bob is again here with the reply. Sensible how? Give me a scenario where some air hoops would cause problems after an accident. Then NABC replies, metal objects, rings, etc. can be worse in fires because of their thermal capacity and high heat conduction, right? Bob says, mate, if there's a fire inside your helmet, you're already a goner. Good comments there, going back and forth a little bit. We won't go too far into. I think it was pretty really. It stirred up some good debate. And I totally understand it. I want to get your thoughts though. What do you guys think? Should Lewis Hamilton comply with the rules? Now that he's in this situation, he's in this pickle where he's got stuff welded in. What do you do? Do you now? Does he have to go through some surgery to get it out? Should he be punished by the FIA? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I personally think yes, if he knew all this time that you cannot have jewelry, and then he's gone and purposely got jewelry welded in. Yeah, Lewis, you're gonna have to take this L. You're gonna have to take this L on this one. Normally, I would back you, but let me know your comments in the comment section below. The rules are the rules. You can't necessarily just decide to do whatever you wish. Let's move on to the next topic. Timo Glock. Is that Glock? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is Glock indeed, Martin Brundle. Timo Glock has been speaking regarding Ferrari's situation for the 2022 Formula One season. In the headline, again from Planet F1, saying, Glock expects Ferrari will quickly prioritize Charles Leclerc. Now, this I look at this image here, and from what I'm seeing and from what I'm reading it here, could Carlos Sainz be in trouble and become the next Valtteri Bottas, and this time for Ferrari? With all due respect to Valtteri Bottas, who's doing a brilliant job at Alfa Romeo at the moment. But let's have a little read on what Timo has to say. So Timo Glock believes that it's only a matter of time before Ferrari prioritize Charles Leclerc in their efforts to capture a world championship this year. The Australian Grand Prix could not have unfolded more differently for the two Ferrari drivers, putting a clear distinction between their prospects for the season. I don't know about that statement, because 3 races in, for crying out loud, we still got 2019 to go, right? So there's a long way, and Carlos Sainz, let's bear this in mind, right? What did he finish? P3 and P2 in the first 2 races, DNF in this the Australian Grand Prix, 3rd race of the season. He's still in the mix. Like, he's still got some good points right there. Leclerc compiled a perfect weekend, achieving the Grand Slam, of course, pole position, fastest lap, leading 58 laps of the Grand Prix, establishing a 34-point lead in the drivers' standings over Mercedes' George Russell. Not even Lewis Hamilton, not even Max Verstappen, not even Carlos Sainz, right? But in complete contrast, Carlos Sainz, 2nd and 3rd in the first 2 races of the campaign, once behind his colleague each time. 1 place behind his colleague each time, endured Melbourne misery. Yes, he did. He suffered a disastrous Q3, starting 9th on the grid, had a poor start on the hard tyres, so on and so forth. If we skim read a little bit here, although still 3rd in the championship, Sainz has a 38-point deficit, and it would need things to go badly wrong for Leclerc if that gap is to be bridged anytime in the near future. Instead, Sky Germany pundit Glock thinks what happened at Albert Park will only speed up a decision for Ferrari, that Leclerc is the man to put their weight behind in the title fight, which could mean team orders coming into play before too long. He quotes, Leclerc is on an absolute high at the moment, said Glock, who completed in No.1 Grand Prix for Jordan, Toyota, Virgin, and Marussia, achieving 3 podium finishes, and also helping Lewis Hamilton to a title in controversial circumstances. Nothing that he could do. His car absolutely fell. The tires were gone. And Hamilton won his first championship in 2008. Within the team, the leader is already relatively clear at an early stage, right? I'm sure Ferrari will prioritize Charles as quickly as possible in certain situations. Not yet to such an extreme, of course, but Leclerc is the world championship leader, and Carlos Sainz is already a certain distance behind him. I mean, Glock, like we this ain't back in the day where you got 18 points for the race win or whatever. Like these points can get accumulated pretty quick. What are your thoughts on this situation? Ferrari prioritizing Charles Leclerc. I wouldn't put it past them, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not putting it past these guys, because we know what Ferrari can get up to, okay? And we know that, everything is plain sailing. Everything is smooth right now. You don't want to stir the pot with Ferrari right now. But situations like this, circumstances like this, honestly, they are They are quite interesting. Timo Glock thinks they should prioritize race 3. After race 3 right now, they should maybe start looking and start pushing all the chips into that basket. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Should Ferrari start prioritizing Charles Leclerc? Let me know what your thoughts are while I sip my coffee, because it's early in the morning, ladies and gents. If they start getting into situations like that now, this early, at this early stage in the Formula One season, it's only going to cause distraction. Now, I don't know what Timo Glock's motives are. I don't think he has either way. I think he's just watching Formula One. He's a former driver himself. But if Ferrari go into this situation where they start looking at, rather than having the two be up there together, I don't know. Should Ferrari right now at this stage prioritize Charles Leclerc? Where are your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen? Any Ferrari fans out there in Formula One, should they prioritize Charles Leclerc for the Formula One 2022 World Championship? I think that it will just cause more harm than good, in my opinion. And I don't see the need to start playing around with fire like that. Ferrari, what was Ferrari's real last title sort of surge? It was some time ago. You could argue 2018, when Vettel eventually binned it and whatnot. But to have two strong cars, strong drivers as well, because I don't think Kimi Raikkonen was of this level that Carlos Sainz is at the moment, in terms of getting valuable points for the team. The constructors Ferrari are flying at the moment. And, I think it would be an absolute disaster if Ferrari were to prioritize right now. Glock expects it will happen quickly. I think it will happen quickly too. But Ferrari, if you want my advice, not that I know anything about Formula One, I would not prioritize just yet. I mean, there's a long, long way to go. Charles Leclerc, remember, in 2019, won 2 races for Ferrari. Those were the only 2. And at the time, it seemed like, hello, Ferrari have turned the corner here. And then all of a sudden it stopped. You just never know. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Should they prioritize Charles Leclerc right now? And the third and final story, ladies and gentlemen, this morning, Max goes over the limit. He wants too much. Who is saying this about Max Verstappen? Would you believe it? It is Helmut Marko, ladies and gentlemen. This man is hilarious. In an article published on the 12th by Michelle Foster, big at yourself, also Planet F1 Business, Max Verstappen was over the limit in qualifying for the Australian Grand Prix, ruining his chances of taking pole position, says Helmut Marko. Oh my goodness, here we go. The Austrians admitted he had hoped that winning last year's Drivers' Championship would have brought some calmness to Verstappen's style. Helmut, are you sure? Are you sure? Why did you think that? This year's championship has been Verstappen and Leclerc. Charles Leclerc emerge as the 2 drivers to beat, right? But while Charles Leclerc has twice got the better of Verstappen on the Grand Prix Sundays, it is fair to say that the Dutchman's Red Bull has also twice got the better of him with retirements in Bahrain and Australia. In both races, he was running P2 behind Charles Leclerc. That has left Verstappen down in 6th place in the driver's standings. The 24-year-old on 25 points, 46 points behind Charles Leclerc, right? Verstappen is also losing in the qualifying competition. The Dutchman is yet to put his Red Bull RB18 on pole position, with Leclerc P1 twice P1, and Sergio Perez beating them both to the coveted grid slot in Saudi Arabia. That's actually a surprising statistic, isn't it? I mean, we know that he hasn't got on pole, but when you sort of see it and you see it in like black and white writing, you're sort of like, first 3 races, Red Bull the fastest car on the grid for sure. Ferrari's got the best package, but Red Bull have the fastest car. It's unreliable, but it's the fastest on a straight line speed. And yet Max has never gone pole this season, which is odd. Marko, though, reckons Verstappen missed out in Australia through his own over-exuberance. Oh, this is interesting stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Interesting stuff. He quotes, he goes over the limit. He wants too much, the Red Bull Motorsport advisor said, as per Formula1News.co.uk. That didn't work out here in the last sector. We thought that with the World Championship title, there would be some calmness from him, but he probably needs another title so that he doesn't go into qualifying with so much pressure. Verstappen, however, blamed the car. Not good. I didn't really feel good in the car the whole weekend so far. I think there's not been one lap when I actually felt confident. So it was a bit of a struggle. Of course, the second is still good. I'm taking it's this is after qualifying. Second is still a good result, but just not feeling that great to go to the limit. We'll try to analyze it. So interesting that Verstappen thinks I can't go to the limit. The car isn't there. Meanwhile, Helmut Marko is saying he wants it too bad. Guys, in the comment section below, what are your thoughts on this situation? Red Bull, huh? Let's not start having some some civil wars going on here. It's the last thing you need. Okay, you need to get back into this championship again because Charles Leclerc and Ferrari are laying the smackdown on Red Bull this season so far, right? And Sergio Perez is the only reason Red Bull are relevant in this conversation at the moment. But Helmut Marko, do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree? I'm not entirely sure where I stand with Helmut Marko's point. I don't know if it is Max Verstappen wants it too much. I thought this is what makes him so good at such a young age at the moment. The fact that he pushes everything right to the limit. Now, does he race under pressure? Does he qualify under pressure? We have seen him bin it a few times in qualifying. We've seen it with Charles Leclerc as well. I think that you have to remember these are young drivers, very young as well. If Max Verstappen, what is he, 24? Very, very young driver, but he's got loads of experience really in Formula One. Okay, so I think he joined the game, was it 16 or 17 years of age? So is it really about age or is it about experience? You could argue either or. But I think the reason the Max Verstappen that people have come to know and love, any Red Bull fans out there, any Dutch people out there, any Verstappen fans out there, this is part of him, pushing it to the limits. And sometimes it's just not going to work out. Now, I don't know whether after analysis of 3 qualifying sessions, Helmut Marko's thought, you know what, you need to tailor it down. And I thought you were going to be a lot calmer this year, but it feels like it's as if he's never won a championship before. But surely that's the hunger you need, Helmut. Surely. And coming from you about over exuberance, this is hilarious. This is absolutely hilarious because what about the careers you have destroyed in Formula One? Okay, whether it's you that's actually done it, but you seem to be the villain in this scenario. But Pierre Gasly, Alex Albon, Daniel Kvyat. There are so many Red Bull drivers that you would just say, hang on a minute, maybe you were a bit over exuberant when it came to having the perfect Red Bull team, right? You've got a great team right now, so don't do anything to ruin this one. Surely, you don't want Red Bull to be ruining these sort of situations. So, does Max Verstappen go over the limit? Is Max Verstappen too much, ladies and gentlemen? Do comment below in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on that scenario. Or should we leave Max Verstappen alone? And it's only 3 race weekends into the season. In a 23 race, 22 race, depending on what's going on in terms of replacing the Russian Grand Prix. It all feels a bit too soon to me. I need to know what your thoughts are in the comment section. Do let me know, ladies and gentlemen. And you know what, guys? Thank you very much for everyone that's joining me right now. No matter what country you're in, no matter where you are, big up to yourself. This is an interactive stream. So, of course, have your say in the comment section. And if you want to join me live, hey, listen, we can. I've got my cup of coffee here because it is, what is it now, 7 a.m. UK time currently right now. But this stream will stay on forever. So if you're watching on the replay, do comment your thoughts below on the 3 big stories that we've had from this morning. Lewis Hamilton with the piercing debacle, let's say, and whether or not, should he be allowed to have jewelry on the track, in the car. What was his reasoning for getting it welded in? Where are your thoughts on Lewis Hamilton on that? And, should Ferrari prioritize Charles Leclerc? Should they do it now? Should they, sort of gamble and just go for it with Charles Leclerc? Timo Glock seems to think it will happen quite quickly. And, of course, Helmut Marko says that Max Verstappen's too much. He needs to pump the brakes, okay? Now that he's world champion, I expected him to be a lot better, in terms of a lot more calmer. And what are your thoughts on that? Is Helmut Marko right? Does he have a point? Thank you for joining me on this morning's stream. And I'll be back tomorrow morning, 6:30 p.m. Sorry, a.m. What am I doing? 6:30 a.m. in the morning. We'll be discussing the latest in Formula One news. Until then, people, You've been great. It's Peter on pole, but right now it's like